The recording this morning will be the set of slides with the corresponding questions for Exam 2. There will be 10 slides, 10 questions, and upon completion, the exit will be, the recording will be terminated and there will be no further lecturing. This is the official streaming video file to accompany the Exam 2. I'll take questions after the presentation. This is the Human Embryology Exam 2, Slides 1, Questions 1 through 10. Question 1. Slide 1, we see a cross-section of the developing head and face of the embryo. We can identify certain structures, such as here in the center, and lying above and even farther above that. The question for this slide is to identify this structure that I am outlining and filling. And of course, there is an identical structure on the contralateral side representing the bilateral symmetry. So that is question 1 from slide 1. Question 2 comes from slide 2. The question for this slide is to identify the specific type of deformity indicated in this figure. Please note this structure in the midline and the defect on the neighboring areas. Identify the specific type of deformity shown on this slide. Slide 3 will be used for the next 2 questions, questions 3 and questions 4. For each question, I will highlight a structure while asking the question. I'll do question 3 first, wait for a moment, and then complete question 4. Question 3, I will highlight a structure and you'll be asked to identify that structure or layer. Highlight the best that I can. So this is a portion of this bluish gray structure that we see completely around this organ, and of course it continues around here as well. I haven't highlighted necessarily the entire extent of this layer, but with this highlighting, you should be able to distinguish the layer that you are asked to identify by name. I will leave that highlight there as I continue to question number 4. Question number 4 asks you to identify the same colored structure, the same index of color for this from the legend, and it would be this layer. I'm just going to draw a line as best as I can on it. It's the outermost layer that we can see here. And my line doesn't stay on it very good, but it is this bluish, light bluish gray layer that completely surrounds this underlying set of structures, the conceptus. So identify just that layer on the surface. This is slide number 4. It will be used also for 2 questions, question 5 and question 6. We'll use the same procedure. I will identify something on here and ask you the question for number 5 first, followed by number 6. Question number 5, I will describe the structure a bit and then draw an arrow to that structure asking you to identify it. Within this area here of the embryo, late embryo, we can see a structure contained within a compartment here. I have highlighted the structure. I'll now draw an arrow to that structure. Identify this structure that has been surrounded by the red line. I will add I will add the term organ to structure for clarification. For question 6, it's the same approach. You are asked to identify a structure. I am outlining the structure here. The structure also is an organ. Identify the structure, organ, at the tip of the arrow. The outlined structure, organ. Slide 5 will also be used for 2 questions, question number 7 and question number 8. First, I draw your attention to the appearance of the illustration that we are seeing. Orient to that appearance. Identify certain characteristic features, especially focusing on these structures seen from the side. This obviously is a side view or lateral view. Question number 7 is to identify this structure that is indicated by this line. So I won't use the ink to highlight it, but hopefully you can see the pointer here. I will highlight it with question 8 in just a moment. So question 7 is identify this structure. It is a surface feature, elevated surface feature, as you can see from the 3-dimensional shading of this illustration. Question number 8. Within this structure that I'm now highlighting that you identified for question 7, within this structure there is a cranial nerve. Which cranial nerve by Roman numeral is found within this structure and thereby is innervated by that cranial nerve? And of course any adult structures that would develop from it. Which cranial nerve by Roman numeral? Slide 6 is used for question 9. And listen to the question on this rather closely. The wording will be important. I will first identify a structure, not by name, but by highlighting, and then I will phrase the question so that you can understand what is being asked. This line here and this line here are identifying structures related to this area here. The question is, what was this structure called at the immediately prior stage, the earlier stage? So obviously there are two identifiable structures at this stage of development. Immediately prior to it, by a matter of a day or so, there was one term for that single structure. What is the name of that earlier structure? Slide number 7 will be used for question number 10. So obviously there are not 10 slides, but some of them we used 2 times, so that's the way that I have counted the slides. Not so much that there are 10 individual slides, but 10 slides upon which the questions have been asked. So on slide 7, we get our last question, question 10. And the question is, identify the structure at the tip of the arrow. I will draw the arrow first and then wait before making your selection, because I will identify certain features of these illustrations, these actual photographs, to help orient you. And then I will phrase the question specifically. The tip of the arrow is going to be right at the edge of this area here. And I'm going to try to highlight it on that illustration. And then again, it would be in an area right here. So I orient you first to the illustration of the photomicrograph above. There are 2 characteristic bulges, one at the top, closer to the head, cephalad, and one closer to the tail, caudad, that is shown here. We talked about the development of the body cavities. And there is a minor body cavity that develops around the structure contained in this area here. And the tip of the arrow is on a part of this structure. Every body cavity was lined with membranes. I ask you to identify the membrane that would be on the surface of the organ within this body area of the embryo. Identify the membrane that would be on the organ contained within this body area of the fetus. Embryo. That completes the series of questions on the slide set for questions 1 through 10 on exam 2. You are free to download and print the questions and the slides, either in PowerPoint or in the PDF file, to have those in front of you and view the streaming video. Again, I have not restricted the number of times that you can watch the streaming video. And after you have completed this portion, then activate your exam and enter these responses for questions 1 through 10 in the exam, and then complete the remainder of the exam. And that ends today's show.